Now here we are. Hey, welcome back to another edition of Getting to the Other Side. I'm Dr. Eddie Capparucci. I'm so glad that you are with us today. If you're part of what we did last month, where we had Drew Boa as a guest, what we did, we went through my 10 rules for engaging with your betrayed spouse. I got to tell you, the feedback we've gotten has been mind-boggling. It's been incredible, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for that along the way. So today, what we're going to do, as we see people coming into the room here, moving up to almost 40 people this week, is we're just going to do a Q&A. Because I know this is one of the areas that we really we get so much great response from you, and we always wind up falling short where we just don't get a chance to answer all of your questions. So I would really love to do that. But I do want to, there's one thing I do want to talk about today because it's something that, it just, it started bouncing around in my head, I guess, about 6 months ago. And it's really an important part of recovery that, again, I don't think we talk about it enough. And that's the whole idea of anxiety and the role that anxiety plays in, you know, one, the addictive brain, two, our recovery process or the lack of recovery. Many of the individuals I worked with over the years who, I, talk to them and I talk to them about anxiety. It's not uncommon for them to say, "Oh, I'm not anxious. I don't have anxiety." I could see it. It presents itself in many different ways. And usually after working with them for a period of time, they come to recognize it. We do a wonderful job, especially in a younger ages, of repressing or suppressing that anxiety. And so therefore it's almost like we don't feel that we have it. I, growing up, grew up in a very anxious type of environment in a way, but yet didn't feel like I was a very anxious person. I thought I was very low key and, you know, calm. There was a lot of anxiety that was there. And as I said, it manifests itself in different ways. That high level of anxiety, which again, we try to escape, I believe, as we're younger, really translates into helping to create that addictive brain because we need to look for those outlets to distract ourselves. And once we start to become accustomed to those, and again, we are dealing with large amounts of neurochemical shifts in our brain, we wind up, with, addictive properties. But also what happens too is there's a higher tendency to deal with compulsive behaviors. Again, anxiety drives compulsive behaviors. That's why when you see, people with OCD and such, what's at the root? The root is anxiety. Compulsive behaviors is a root of an addictive brain. Those compulsive behaviors that we have, what do they wind up leading to? Very poor decision making, which again is involved in our addiction. So, and I just bring it all up because I think there's an area where we don't spend enough time in recovery, and that is proactively keeping our anxiety levels down. You can't wait until the events happen in your life where now your anxiety starts to increase. That's a really difficult time for you to try to say, okay, what do I do about it? It has to be something that you're doing on a daily basis to be able to keep it and train yourself, whether it be through, deep breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, exercise, quiet time, whatever. There's many different things you can do to learn to bring that anxiety level down, because this way, then when you get in the trenches and the anxiety start to rise, you know where you can go. You've been there. You've been able to sit and practice the concept of still. Just gonna be still, which again, look at anybody who struggles with addiction. It's really hard to be still. It's just something we don't naturally, we're not naturally inclined to do that. So therefore, I know now my anxiety goes up, but wait a second, I know I can get here. I know I can get to this place that I can bring it down because I do it every day. And so therefore able to do that. And what's that going to do? That's going to reduce the likelihood of of your compulsive nature starting to rear its ugly head. And so therefore, what that should do is to lower the risk of making bad decision making. So again, I strongly recommend you, whether you, and even if you're a betrayed spouse, to be able to start engaging in activities that will help you to bring that level of anxiety down, because it will be better for you in the long run anyway, for your overall health, not just the fact that we're trying to deal with the addictive behaviors that are going on. So I just wanted to throw that out there, something that's been weighing heavily on my mind. I think I did an article on it. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. You folks probably do. But start looking into things, because it is very important. It's an important part of recovery, like I said, that we really kind of overlook. So
I think from both, and I sent you an email with the screens, but I will read them too. But I think you're exactly right with, and if I'm anxious, I'm not thinking clearly. I'm not going to be best able, like I'm more reactive than I am, being intentional with actions. And and I think oftentimes anxiety is, it's like there could be a thread of something real in it, but in my anxiety, it gets to be a lot bigger than it really is. But my ability to make proper decisions is depleted. So I love what you're talking about, is having a plan. And I say often, a failure to plan is planning to fail. And so it, and I never am going to come up with a great plan for how to, attend to these things, in the moment, in the heat of the battle, so to speak. So it is. And being intentional, I think, as a person in recovery, like I was so oblivious to all of my emotions and numbed them out and everything. So being aware, being, like you said, being able to be quiet and present, to just kind of take a read of where I'm at and what do I need to do, to move forward differently. So I love that, and true for everyone.
What you just said was so critical. Different. We need to be different in everything that we're doing. That's what I mean. We're looking for that transformation, that complete shifting. We want to do a 180. And I was just talking to a client earlier today, having some really serious problems at work, where he's having this conflict with one of the senior people there. And it's really crushing at his ego. And I said to him, I go, well, you know what, this actually is a wonderful opportunity for you now to learn to adapt to the situation. Okay, how do you manage this versus what his normal response would be? And that would go in with a sword and just start cutting people up. Okay, just gonna wipe you out. You can't wipe this guy out. You can't wipe this guy out. It's impossible to wipe him out. Okay, that's number one. But we're supposed to do it differently. What's the different approach you're going to take this time to learn to be able to manage with this person who's now in your life in the work setting. See, that's why I said, when you brought up the word different, that's something we should really keep top of mind with everything. And even those who are struggling with betrayal, what am I going to be doing differently as I continue down a pathway of recovery? Because again, it's so easy, as many of you know, to get caught and stuck. You get stuck. And it's like, all right, well, you know what? I can either stay stuck or I could try something different, a different approach. So again, it's about transformation.
Yeah, I love what you're sharing about your client, because you know, like what is your real goal? If your real goal is vengeance and, you know, to cause chaos, keep doing what you're doing, you know, that will be the end result. If it is to have a different thing, I have no control over anyone other than my own actions and reactions. I use the serenity prayer as a mantra to remind me, because you know, if I start wanting to control everything else, and you know, at some point it will serve me not at all and just create a more problematic situation if I go in there, you know, swords a-blazing. So it really is, you know, like you said earlier, you know, take a pause, you know, now I can think, and I can, you know, approach things differently. And I often share too, nothing changes if nothing changes, and we can continue our same destructive patterns, you know, hoping that it will magically change, but it won't. So
no, we're just in the same spot. So before we continue, I have to little housekeeping. One, I have a very, very sick computer. Okay, very sick. So if I
hope you're getting a new one, because you need it.
It's coming today.
Good.
And that was going to be the second point. So one, if I gone, I will get back. Okay. Two, if my computer comes, I have to go sign for it. So I am looking here to see.
Yes.
So hopefully, I don't think usually UPS comes later in the afternoon, but just to let you know,
I know that would be a critically important thing. Do sign for. Yes, yeah. I hear you. So we're going to start. This is questions from, and I see one from this week, but we're going to start with questions from last month. So the first one is, Dr. Eddie, I have a problem of not being able to manage my triggers of anger and defensiveness when my wife gets triggered. I love her very much, and I really do want to be there for her. I have a couple of years of sexual sobriety, but it's the emotional piece that I struggle with. I am wanting to find a strategy to stop getting triggered when she is. It can happen so quickly.
Yes, exactly. Because again, that goes back to, you know, the idea of your compulsive behavior. It's that compulsiveness to react. She talks, and your inner child is offended, scared, rebellious, whatever it may be, and it just comes out. I could sit here and I could tell you the basics of what I tell everybody. One, slow everything down. But what you really need to be doing, and this goes back to what I was saying before about anxiety, because that is your anxiety. That part of your anxiety that's playing out in itself. You need to practice. You need to prepare before you get one-on-one with her. So what I would encourage you to do, because again, you know what the situations are, you know what most of the questions are that may trigger you. Sit down and start writing about, start journaling. Okay, if this scenario happens, and she questioned me, let's say she unjustly accuses me of something. Okay. All right. She does that. How am I going to handle this? What am I going to do here? Well, usually what I do is I snap back. Like, what are you talking about? Why did you do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. That's not it. I didn't do this. You know, you're making this thing up. This, whatever it is. What am I going to do instead? Well, with all of these, as you're sitting there and practicing, first thing I'm going to do is learn to breathe. I don't, and she may even sit there and say, what? I said something. What are you doing? And you're saying, I'm going to respond to you. I'm not going to react to you. I'm going to respond. So that's the first thing. I'm going to respond. What does responding look like? I slow down. I think it through for a moment. Because see, if you do that, what you're doing is you're quieting the kid down. You're quieting him down because you're not giving him that chance to respond immediately. So I want you to sit, I want you to write out, how do I respond to her in different situations? Because as I said, that has to be the force. The other thing you want to do is to think about, again, the character of the man you want to be. I mean, what do you get out of snapping at your wife? It makes you feel bad. It makes you feel guilty. And you're going to tell me, well, but it's just my natural reaction. Yes, you can change your natural reaction, but it takes time. It takes effort. I'd be having a conversation with her and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to change this. Okay, I know this is wrong. I know it's bad. You know it's wrong, of course. You're on the receiving end of it. I'm going to try to make changes. The next time I snap at you, I just want you to put your hand up and say, I'm not talking to you anymore, and walk away. That's what I want you to do. I want you to put your hand up and say, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm walking away. And that to you will be like that speed bump to say, oh, I messed up. And you may not even do that at the very moment. You may still be upset, but hopefully at some point you're going to catch yourself. Say, oh, speed bump. Don't tell her not to sit there and engage you. Just, I'm not talking to you. Walk away. And hopefully that's the wake-up call for you to be able to sit, calm yourself down, and then go and find her to re-engage. So that's the way
I 100%. I was thinking you two have the conversation too of this is what, we're in this negative pattern. So I want to do it differently. I'm tending to come in, with that reaction. I mentioned a moment ago, I use the serenity prayer, to slow me down and remind myself that I can react or I can have action. And action is I've thought about it and I'm intentional. Reaction is who knows what's going to happen. It's emotional and not always my best, move. Actually, usually not my best move. So, I want to be intentional, and be able to think through what is my goal. My goal is to create, a connection and have a space where there can be vulnerability and real sharing. But I think having the conversation of we get into this pattern. I want to do things differently. I probably won't do it perfectly, but I love to put the hand up, you walk away, I promise we'll come back. I'll figure it out, try it, and tweak it if you need to, but that's a great starting place. So Okay, next one. Dr. Eddie, as an addict, I'm having issues accepting some of the attachments my inner child has to unhealthy family members. I've cut them out of my family, but I still find myself missing them, even though they were abusive. I find myself wanting to escape from these feelings of guilt. I want to be able to heal them instead, so that it doesn't put my recovery at risk. How can I help my inner child let go of this guilt and attachment to these people?
Well, I think first and foremost, what I say to you is, you know what? Good for you. What you did was you put up some very healthy boundaries that were needed in order to, enhance your life and make you healthy. Second, yes, it's extremely hard. It's very, very difficult to cut away, prune people out of your life who were a part of your life, whether it was good, bad, indifferent. It's still, they are family, they are blood. It is difficult. And yes, there is that sense of guilt that, I've let them go. Well, actually, you didn't really let them go. They put themselves in a position where you had no choice but to do that. You're cutting them off is a result of their action, not your action. If that makes sense. It is what they have done that have led you to take this is the step you had to take. They twisted your arm and there was nothing else you could do. And again, kudos to you for doing that. I wish I could tell you that your inner child is not going to miss them. I wish I could tell you your inner child may not feel guilty about doing that. It's going to be there at times. You're going to get triggered by things because, see, you long for them to be able to become healthy and to come back and say, we are so sorry, we messed up, we should have done it differently. Can you give us another chance? That's what you want. That's what your inner child wants. It's not happening today. Could happen tomorrow. May never happen. So therefore, when those emotions come up, what do you need to do? You need to do what one of the key things we have to do as people who are recovering. I have to sit with that pain. I have to sit with the fact that I missed them. I have to sit with the fact that, yeah, it felt bad to cut them off. Okay. I'm sitting with those emotions, those feelings. This is what I feel. Okay. And you mourn and you grieve. Then, adopting the inner child model, I move over to rational thinking. Okay. Yes, while I do miss them and I do wish things were different, they gave me no choice. They're not healthy. They're toxic. And to bring them back in my life could cause a lot more havoc for me. So when the feelings come up, I will sit with them. I will deal with it. I will mourn, but I will not go back to where I was. That's the way to handle that situation.
I love that you shifted that, like, it's not the guilt of I cut them off. It's their actions, their behaviors.
Is. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I'm not me to have to choose.
Right. I'm not saying that to just make him feel better, make them feel better. That's not it. It's the truth.
Yeah, no, it is true, but it's a reframing, of how it is. And the grief is real. And, even the grief of wanting them to be the family member and be, in a connected space that you hope for, they clearly have brokenness and are unable to step into that, so the grief work is real.
Right. Exactly. So.
Okay. Next question. I'm terribly afraid that I will never be able to connect to my sex addict husband in a sexual way ever again. Will that ever change? How do you repair so much dishonesty, even if he chooses to become transparent?
Well, again, I think, and again, I've never been betrayed. Okay, I know a lot from it over the last 10 years of sitting in front of women who have been, and a lot of the learnings I've done. So I feel like I have good knowledge on it, but again, I've never actually been there. So take everything I say with a grain of salt in a way. I'm not sure full trust ever comes back. I think there's a part that'll always have some doubt and some worry and some concern. I don't know, it would be interesting to know what you think about this, Tammy. But I don't think it all comes back. I think there'll always be there. But in order for you to feel like 90%, more secure with him, you have to see substantial changes from him. And that doesn't mean, oh, I'm no longer doing this behavior. We talked about this. This has been a topic of many of our webinars in the past. You need to see the transformation of the heart. You need to be able to see that he has a different approach and a different attitude in how he treats you, how he respects you, how he goes out of his way to make sure that you feel secure about things. So therefore, instead of, ooh, you know what, the guys that planned a golf outing and, yep, I'm in. Instead, he reaches out to you to say, hey, you know what, the guys want to go away for a few days, play golf. I just want to run it by you to see what you think. Would you feel comfortable with that? Would you not? What would I need to do? And if not, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to feel this animosity, resentment. I'm just going to say, yeah, you know what, I put you in this position and I'm going to just tell them no. It's those kind of things. You need to see that, but you need to see it consistently. And if that happens, then your level of anxiety will come down with him. Again, we're back to anxiety, Tammy, right? We started out today. Your level of anxiety will come down and your trust will, I don't think, be fully restored, but I think a lot of it will be restored. So I don't know, Tammy, what do you think?
Well, I think, with betrayed partners, you can never trust, and I use the word naively, but that's not a negative. It's just like you had faith that your partner was, trustworthy and all of this, and now you know that that person, can hurt you. So I don't think that's ever restored to that level, but eyes wide open, you can move forward, and, the sexuality, there's sexual reintegration, sensate focus, like, it isn't from zero to,
Yeah,
sexual intercourse. It's like, can we hold hands? Are you comfortable with that? You get to say, it's not, it's not the addict pressuring. It is absolutely, I get to set my boundaries for my body. What am I okay with? And one day it may be, I'm okay holding hands, and another day I'm not. It's a process, and but just like you say, it's not just about touching. It is, the golfing or whatever, and it's not going to the golf buddies and going, yeah, my wife won't let me go. I mean, it really is holding that integrity, across all conversations and relationships. But the good news is, for those that are really working, on this, yes, healing is possible. You can have, again, eyes wide open, a more intimate, where it's real vulnerability, not a facade, which is what, there was always the secret life. So it can be very different,
right,
as you
right.
indicate, the transparency. So yes, there is hope if, if he's doing the work and you get support for healing.
Right.
Okay, 2 more, and then we're on to the next one. So the next one is betrayed partner waiting on disclosure for 18 months with partner of 17 years, chronic infidelity and multiple discoveries. He's been working with a CSAT since August of 22. The line in the sand I set was the end of January. I need honesty and accountability and to be able to stay in the marriage and feel safe. I connected with husband CSAT last night, and he said that he would need a few more sessions, but it would not be January. How do I trust this? Concerned about not holding my line. I'm so tired. Oh,
okay. So I don't know, when did this come in, this question?
this was on last
a month ago, right?
Yeah. So it was the 11/24 on my time thing.
Yeah, okay. So it's the middle of February. So I hope this has all been taken care of thus far, and that they did do the disclosure. I mean, 18 months is an awful long time. An awful long time for disclosure. I can't go back and correct it. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and bash this CSAT. I don't know what was involved. Sometimes I know when I work with men who are doing disclosures, they just struggle. They struggle. But that's also my responsibility and my job to move them forward. Okay, I can't be just sitting there and say, well, okay, he's not doing it. I have to find out what's going on, why is he struggling, and how can I help him with that. So again, I don't know what the circumstances are. It's been way too long. I'm so sorry that you've had to wait that long. I hope that it's all been taken care of for you. But I think at some point, if it hasn't, it comes, where's your boundaries and where's your consequence? There has to be a consequence for something like this.
Yeah, and the challenge for me is, usually when there's a delay like this, there's something going on with the addict, that they're not being fully transparent. There's more. So like you've been talking about anxiety and fear. So something's going on, and doing a disclosure to have it be not helpful because it's a partial, or there's still lies and still withholding, so but having the understanding. I mean, just setting a time is just setting a time,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's like, for you, like, it may be, because we're not having this move forward, what is your boundary? Does it need to be, we need a therapeutic separation until, such time as this happens. Like
Right.
having healthy boundaries for you, regardless of what he's doing, this feels like there's problems with the addict being able to be really transparent and truthful, but that's data for you as a partner.
But let me can I also say this? Because the other thing I've seen at times, it's not about they don't want to be transparent, but they are so overcome with fear of putting it all out there that they're almost paralyzed. Again, can't use it as an excuse. And that's what I have to work. I have to work with them on that, lowering that fear, letting them see that, hey, guess what? The fear that you're having isn't, as important, I hate to say that, as her need for this information. Okay, so therefore you're going to have to start to, man up to be able to do that. So in some cases, that's what it's about.
Well, and one more thing that I often hear is, a partner will say, if you did this, then we're done. Yeah. And to be fully transparent in a disclosure, that's going to come out. So, that's right. So again, it's so complex. This is why having, qualified professionals, make sure that you're getting the support for you as the partner, and hopefully your qualified professional is also talking with the with the addict CSAT too.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Get your therapist involved. Talk to CSAT about it. Say, guys, okay, get your act together.
Last one before we move to the current. So what about addicts who constantly play the victim game, even though they have been doing intense therapy and 12-step?
What about them? They're emotionally immature, emotionally undeveloped. There's no place for that. There's no place for it. And I again, I'm going to go back to boundaries versus, instead of just, oh, I got to put up with this. They need to learn that, what, this behavior is not acceptable and it's not tolerated. You cannot sit here and be the victim. And plus, I would also probably arrange a meeting, the three of you with his, therapist, maybe even bring your therapist in to say, what are we doing to fix this? Why, what are you doing to educate him about that this is actually creating more distance between the two of us? So again, I'd be looking at boundaries. I'd be looking at bringing in the therapist to talk more about it. But again, I think you got to cut that behavior off, because it's not going to go away on its own. Not like because you're sitting there saying you're not the victim, that he's gonna, oh wow, you know what, you're right, I'm not the victim. You know what, I'll never do that again. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be. So you have to start to employ other strategies in order to be able to deal with it. But it's emotional immaturity. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, I hear people often, and he's doing all of this stuff, but I always question how much he really is doing. I know lots of people that go to 12-step meetings, but they're not really working the program. I know lots of people that go to the therapist and they're checking off a box, and they're going and telling their therapist how great they're doing, and, or worse, blaming, partner, like, well, all of that type of thing. So it really is, if they're being truthful with their therapist, and they're really doing the work, then you're going to start to see changes. Yeah. But I love that you suggest go talk to the therapist, as well. Your collateral information, because if the addict is lying to the therapist, guess what? You're coming in and going, well, this is what I'm seeing at home, so yeah, that's important.
I love bringing the spouse in just to get, hey, tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what's going on. So, okay.
Okay, on to today's questions. My SA husband has been in solid recovery for 2 years, 5 months. We are both working daily. My question is about my family. Recently, my eldest depressive bipolar 24-year-old son was accused of spanking a 17-year-old friend. He agreed that he was inappropriate afterwards. However, my 22-year-old daughter, who is an Army police was very upset that her brother acted that way. She is now upset at me for not having taken stronger consequences on my son. She was asking me to isolate my son so he could work on his mental health.
Well, again, we're going to have issues because we're looking at your son and the mental disorders that he's dealing with. So there's going to be those sorts of situations that pop up here. Again, I don't know what you did. I mean, he's 24 years old. I mean, how much discipline are you going to be able to provide for his consequences? And what did she mean by isolate him? I mean, return him out on the street? I mean, I'm not sure what that means. I understand she's concerned because that could have gotten him arrested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could have gotten very, very serious legal situation. I think there has to be the idea of what is he doing to ensure that his bipolar is under control. Okay, is he taking those steps? Also, what is he doing to ensure that his depression is under control? I'm more concerned about that than I am about punishing him for what happened. So I want to know if he's taking his med, if he's seeing the doctor on a regular basis, if he's in some sort of support group. I think that's where my focus is to be, because maybe he's gotten away from some of that, which allowed him to have this outburst. So that's where I would go.
Yeah, I really am concerned that your son gets the mental health help that he needs. You know, the isolating, you know, the opposite of, I mean, healthy attachment is how we heal and, and connect. So, isolating him from the 17-year-old, maybe, and you're right, there could be legal consequences, which I suspect is what your daughter is picking up on. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Ken Adams, did a podcast with Dr. Rob on adult children of sex addicts. I listened to it. It was really good. So it's on sex, love, and addiction. That may be useful for you or and for your daughter also to kind of listen to, the experience for adult children. There's adult children of alcoholics. This is the first book that is addressing adult children of sex addicts. And so that may be useful as well. Email me, Tammy, Tami, at seekingintegrity.com if you want more information on that. So, okay. Being curious and compassion with anxiety help regulate it. Oh, being curious and compassionate with anxiety will help regulate it. I've been in recovery for 2 years, and I find it when I am curious of the feeling, I start to regulate. Thank you for this way.
Yes. Yeah. See that again. But what do you need to do in order for that to happen? You have to slow everything down. Sit. Be still. What is your body telling you? What is going on with that? And so therefore, then with that information, realizing, ooh, something's out of sort. Let me go, let me explore and be even more curious. Because again, the more we catch this, the less likely it is to continue to manifest itself. And then we reach a point where we have some sort of destructive behavior. And it may not be acting out from a sexual standpoint, but it could be anger that appears, could be withdrawing that happens. Maybe we turn to some other type of addictive behavior, start eating too much or binging on Netflix for hours when we should be doing things around the house. So good stuff. I like it.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's exactly the goal, to buy ourselves the ability to think about this. But I love too that you're able to notice it. Like, I think it's super easy to be in the oblivious state, where we're not in touch with our bodies, we're not in touch with, our feelings or anything else. So I love that you are going, oh, I'm curious. I'm thinking, oh, I feel pressure in my chest, or my gut is churning or tight or whatever it is. My shoulders are, whatever it is, being that body aware, and then being able to look at what's going on, that's called recovery.
So. Yes, it is. It is. There's times at night, I'm laying in bed, I sit there, and all of a sudden I realize, you know what? My head is not all the way on the pillow.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bit off a little. And because I'm tense. And that
Wow.
all of it is tense, and then I got to drop it.
Yeah.
Drop it. So,
Like that would be painful to me to have to hold, like, yeah.
well,
So,
no,
wow.
but you're that tension. And again, if I've been doing it for decades and decades, the neck is,
Hmm.
used to it.
Oh yeah. Well, I have learned where I hold tension, and if I start, if I pay attention and notice that, then I can choose to do something different.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah, see, I know I hold all my tension right here. That's where my tension is, you know, and that's why for all of us to understand that, it's very helpful.
mhm. So the next one, I'm working my recovery and sobriety as the addict and betrayer, and I'm trying to stop causing more trauma to my spouse, but am causing her enormous pain by not being able to meet her needs of intimacy and closeness. I don't believe I am withholding affection due to shame, but just do not long for closeness with her. I'm wondering if a therapeutic separation would be in order to see if space might help create a desire.
I don't think that's gonna really, I think actually what that's gonna do, it's gonna lead you to a point where you're saying, oh, you know what? I could live like this. I think what you and your therapist need to be focusing on this subject. Why? Why is it that you are not longing for especially if she's looking for you to be more close, if she's looking for you to be more intimate? What is it that leaving you from doing it? Plus, also, I think one thing you need to think about is my guess is this is not new. This is something that's been happening probably throughout most of your relationship. So therefore, then you have to start to look at and wonder, are there resentments that you have, or are there issues that you have towards your wife that you just haven't brought up in a way? So I would be exploring this deep. And again, this is not to blame her for anything, but again, what's going on? Also, again, what is your attachment style versus her attachment style? Maybe you're more an avoidant. Maybe you're not the guy who wants that close, closeness and that type. But this is something I would be not walking, I'd be running to your therapist. I'd be reaching out now and saying, hey, the next time we get together, we need to start hitting this issue and hitting it hard, because what you need is insight. Why? Why are you pulling away from her? That's what we need. And I think she even have to come in for a session. I wouldn't come in at the beginning. I would do some alone, just you and him together. And then I would bring her in, and I would like, as a therapist, I want to understand her side of it and what is she seeing there. So that's where I would go.
Yeah, and I'm going to. This is always take what you need and leave the rest. I don't know if there's mother enmeshment issues, but men who struggle with mother enmeshment have a harder time connecting with a spouse for lots of reasons. So I was thinking the same thing when I read this. I was like, yeah, getting separation, and then it's gonna be like, oh yeah, I don't need that person. So I really appreciate that you're go explore why this is, and whether it's attachment style. But remember, intimacy is not just sex. Intimacy is vulnerability. It's connecting in a real and meaningful way. It is like, how was your day? Tell me what's going on with you. The Thanos check-in is intimacy. It's connection and communication. So like reframe, sex addicts, often think it's sex is the only, no, it's all of the other things are actually more intimate, and build intimacy. So,
and that's why I wonder if this is not a new problem. It may have been that he has an intimacy problem, perhaps. I don't know. But again, work with your therapist, come up with the solution. Insight. We're looking for insight.
being left home alone overnight or longer has been a big trigger opportunity for my partner to act out. I'm an independent person and like my time alone to go away on my own. He now has been in recovery for nearly 3 months, and neither of us feel safe with me going away at the moment. In the near future, it is something he is going to work through with his therapist, and I know it will take work together too, but how can I move towards being able to retain my independence? I'm afraid I'm going to end up feeling trapped.
Well, I think a key here, if you look at this, is what you say. You said that the two of you, neither of us feel safe. So he's admitting to you that, yeah, you know what, you're going away. I'm not very confident in myself yet. That, I think, is a huge, admission on his part. I think that is great. I think he's being very transparent and very honest. Because he could be saying, no, you know what? I feel like I'm in a good place, and go off, go do what you want, and I'm sure I'll be fine. And he's not. He's saying that. The fact that he and therapists are going to work on that together, because what he needs, and again, it's been 3 months, he needs a little bit more time. He needs a plan. What is he going to put in place that gives him a sense of structure while you're away? And what you're going to do in these circumstances is you're going to do it in little bite-sized pieces. So maybe you go away and it's just an overnight trip. Maybe the next several times you would go away, they'd be nothing but overnight trips. What is his plan? How is he going to put it in place? Who is he going to be talking to and calling? Okay. What kind of maybe recovery work will he be doing? How will all the devices be locked down? I don't know. Maybe you take some of the devices with you. Who knows what you do with all that kind of stuff? Maybe you pull the plugs out of the TV, the cable wires that are out, whatever that he needs, but just to, again, come up with something that he feels comfortable with and that you feel comfortable with, that he's checking in with you on a regular basis. And you have to go slow and build up to it. But again, 3 months, way too early right now. But I would just say, be optimistic by the fact that he's admitting that, you know what, because what it is, it's the window of opportunity. That's what happens. The window opens up and there's now an opportunity. And he has to learn, how do I keep that window shut?
Yeah, but what you're saying is exactly right. It's a plan. And whether he's checking in with you or if you need alone time, he has a peer or a therapist. There's an accountability person, where he's checking in regularly. However, that, plan comes up that works for both of you. And and the first time, I suspect you both will be fearful, but if you both successfully navigate it, then like Dr. Eddie was saying, then maybe the next time or in a few times it can be a weekend or something, but take it slow,
That fear is going to be there for a while. But, and the reason I brought up maybe him contacting her was maybe if that would help elevate or to reduce her fear.
Yeah.
So again,
whatever you guys need
for both of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so the next one. I'm the betrayed 12 years since D-Day, 6 months of sobriety, no recovery yet. My husband says that when I pull away from him, he feels rejected and that there he gets triggered and goes into shame. So it's very hard for me to get close to him when I know when I get triggered and pull away, he will get triggered. How do I go about that? I can't get close if I know I'm not allowed to feel my feelings.
First and foremost, this is not your problem. This is his problem. Okay. So the question should be not what do you do about this? The question instead is, what is he doing to help reduce his shame when you're in a place that you can't embrace him? I don't mean physically embrace him, I'm talking about embracing him at all, because you need your space. That's where the work has to be done. And maybe you have to go in, sit with him and his counselor to say, hey, this is an issue. This is what's going on here. You know what? What work can you do with him so that we can reduce his shame level? And what it comes down to is this. Again, his kid is activated. She doesn't love us anymore. She doesn't care anymore. She hates us. Look at what we did to her. All that's going on. And he has to, again, be able to move it over to rational thinking. And you know what? she's hurt. I hurt her. And it's going to take time. And when she needs to pull away, understand that most likely she's going to come back. But if I go to chase her, it's just going to make things worse. So my guess is he has some sort of abandonment issue or an attachment issue that is being exacerbated by all of this. I could be wrong, but that's where my head goes. He needs to do that work. So I would get in front of his therapist, the three of you, and say, this is a problem. What's the game plan for putting it back together? It is not you to fix this. He has to fix it.
Yes. And I really hate that I hear I'm not allowed to feel my feelings. You are allowed to feel your feelings. It is, this feels very manipulative. I know it's his inner child and, attachment wounds and all of that, but he's still manipulating you to make, oh, I'm triggered and I feel shame. Well, shame is a useless emotion. It is not, the grown-up thing that we do. It is nothing you did or didn't do caused this, and nothing you do or don't do, can fix it, so healthy boundaries for you take care of you, and you are absolutely entitled to your feelings, including, I need to take care of me, and I need to not be around you until you, show me that you can show up in a relationship different. So,
Tammy, it is manipulation. The inner child manipulates, okay, because he's looking for comfort. And comfort is, ooh, you're here with me, despite what I've done. You're still close to me. You're not going to leave me. We're going to be okay. Well, you know what? We're not okay. We're not okay because of things that you have done. And therefore, I need my faith. And that's why he has to be able to turn to the kid and say, you know what? Stop. Stop. We're not going to do that. There's an adult here. See, he's not acting like an adult. There's an adult here. And you know what? I'm going to look at her pain. I'm going to see that pain. I'm going to understand that's what's driving her away. But she will come back. And I need to continue to do my work so that I can be able to not be triggered when she feels like she needs to pull away.
Yeah. Well, and it's also manipulative in that it shuts you down. So he doesn't have to deal with like a negative feel, like if you're expressing, I'm really angry or I'm really hurt, he can shut that down with his shame and, oh, I get triggered. You're triggered. So you own your feelings, and you are entitled to them. And, there's lots of safe spaces to having support from other betrayed partners,
right,
and him getting help. We've got drop-in groups for guys. We've got drop-in groups for you. There's help. And if he leans into that, and is doing daily things change. Okay, next question. My disclosure is coming up, but I'm noticing that my husband is not doing his 12-step meetings and not taking his medication for depression. He says it's because he has been busy with working on his disclosure and has not had time to go to meetings. Is there truth in that? I've been waiting for 2.5 years and really don't want to push off again. I'm scared this will be more traumatized than healing. Oh my gosh.
I hope he's listening. And if he's not listening, please go and
the recording will be posted. Yeah.
Okay. So to Mr. I'm too busy, stop for a minute. First and foremost, she's been waiting 2.5 years for a disclosure. What the hell have you been doing? Why has it taken you that long to provide the woman who you say that you love some sort of understanding about the things that you've done? How selfish and self-centered can you be? Do you have no heart? Serious. I'm being serious. This woman is being left out there to dry, and you're too busy with this. And also, and it's taking you away from your meetings, which are needed in order to reassure and make her feel safe and comfortable, your priorities are all off. All off. And if I was her therapist, I'd be telling her there are more red flags here than I would ever want to see. And that she should be guarding herself and guarding her heart tremendously. And frankly, you should be ashamed of this. You should be ashamed. It's bad enough you broke her heart by what you did, whatever that betrayal was. But now all you're doing now is you're just exacerbating those wounds. And you should be ashamed. And I hope that you have an awakening, that you wake up and you see your blindness, the blindness that you have toward her well-being. Because right now it's all about you. That's what it was before when you were acting out. It was all about you. Miss, wife of the guy who can't do this because he's too busy doing a disclosure, it's taken 2.5 years. If that's going to be his heart, you better be looking for another plan. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. When things are difficult and triggering, we go to more meetings. Those of us that we lean into our recovery. And a good disclosure, if he's working with a qualified therapist, it's 2 pages. And it's not like all the gory details, it's information that's pulled down. If he's done his 12 steps, he already has, the material because he did his 4-step. Not that it translates immediately to a disclosure, but that's where, there's a lot of information. So this is complete BS. If he's on medication for clinical depression, stopping to take his medication, I'm like, huge red flags. So I'm going to go back to your healthy boundaries. What do you need to do to take care of you? Because clearly he is not, in any kind of recovery place. So your safety, that's what boundaries are for, your physical safety, emotional, spiritual, financial safety. What do you need to do to take care of you? Because this is, complete BS. And, he's, like you said, red flags. I'm like, red flags.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't even bring up the depression part. I forgot about that. The fact that you stopped taking your medication. Why? Because maybe it's making you groggy. Oh, maybe you can't get an erection. I don't know what it is, but you know what? You probably needed that medication in the first place. And now you just said, no, sorry. What I want, what I desire is so much more important than what my wife wants and desires. So once again, that self-centeredness, that selfishness, that immaturity is shining through. It's not acceptable. And I know you're probably sitting there saying, you don't know all the facts. You don't understand what's going on. You realize that there's other things. Yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff. I'm sure. I've heard it all. I've heard every friggin' excuse in the world. All I know is that she's 2.5 years and she hasn't had a disclosure. Unacceptable.
Yeah, but I'm also going, what is the point? Because if it's supposed to be part of the foundation of moving forward, I think this will be half truths. This will be poorly done. So I'm, for the partner, I'm kind of going like, do you need it? It was bad. He's not really working recovery. So I think really take in that data. What do you need to do to take care of you? Because he's clearly not, doing the work. So there's one final comment. Thank you so much for answering my question and about going away. That's really helpful and reassuring. So
good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So thank you all for being here. I hope
it's all been, reassuring and helpful.
Yeah, well, some of it isn't so reassuring when somebody is stuck at 2.5 years. Like that's but it's like, please understand that, for those that do the work, like there's healing. For those that get caught up in them, me, the prognosis is not good. But that does not mean that a betrayed partner cannot, find, a path forward for themselves. So take care of you regardless. So,
but I appreciate all of you turning out. I mean, it's great to see nice crowds out here So thank you. I really appreciate your support for everything. I don't know if I told you, Tabby, but going deeper by, I think it's going to be May or June, we are going to be surpassing 10,000 copies. Now, again, that print,
Right.
audio, and Kindle, but we're going to be hitting 10,000 copies.
I'm not surprised.
And I'm in the process right now of revising the book to add the 2 new children, the mech child and the spiritually wounded child. And I hope
Great.
to have that out by the summer. So again, I appreciate all the support that you people have given me for that. I know it's helped so many folks, and want to just continue to see what we can do to help. So,
well, let's schedule another podcast for you to talk on those topics with Dr. Rob, towards when you get done with that.
yep.
But so Dr. Eddie will be on the Old Lady Posse next Tuesday, and I'm subbing in, and then he's also has the work groups on our Seeking Integrity. So there's
Right.
the Going Deeper Inner Child, but also Why Men Struggle to Love. So those are both really good work groups. There's other work groups as well, including for betrayed partners. So
Right.
check those out. So
we
well,
actually
thank you, my friend.
We have a new Going Deeper that'll be coming up at the end of the month, I believe, right?
Yes.
That. And then the Why Men Struggle to Love, there'll be a new one for that in April. So yeah,
check them out.
Check it out.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, folks. God bless you all.
Bye.